Rise and shine, YouTube. Today we're going through a bunch of different mouse pads in this massive mouse pad roundup. We got pads that were sent out, pads that I picked up because I was curious, and so we're going to talk about the speed, the surface feel on skin and skates, the firmness level, and if I think the base is a premium base or if it's not. When it comes down to it, this is the Owepowe pad that was sent out for review. This is a nice, smooth option on skates, on full form skates, on dots, right? We have a bunch of different options here, and it just feels very, very nice on the bottom of your skin and on the skates itself, and it's very quick. So this is a nice kind of Raiden-ish clone, where if you use the Infinity Mice Speed or the Raiden, you'll feel pretty much at home with this guy. This is the beta version, by the way, of the X2F. Nice fingertip mouse. This is the X2 Mini ES that I just got in from Pulsar. And this is the Pulsar Feynman 001. But all in all, a nice, cool little comic style design. Smooth on the skin, smooth on the skates, Raiden-ish kind of speed, and Infinity Mice Speed like mouse pad for around 30 bucks if you pick it on Mech Keys. The base itself is, in my opinion, it has a cool little hexagonal design, but at the same time, I feel like it's just not as premium as other options in the scene. But if you want something that's speed, if you want something that's budget, this is a good pickup for you. And the designs aren't actually bad. There's no like weird little school rolls on the front. So that's a win for me. So there you go. Owepowe, kind of budget mouse pad. Thank you guys for sending it out for review. Good speed. Go ahead and try it for yourself. And let's move on to the next one. The next one we got is a more of a kind of a unique experience, right? Something you don't really see a lot of the time. This is the Haus FreeFall collab. This guy wasn't my favorite because of one reason. It's the surface it's the surface thinness that makes this pad kind of inconsistent for me. But with dot skates, you can actually feel the logo through the top surface, and it's very, very annoying. But let's talk about the surface feel and skin. This one is more of a satin kind of smoothness to it. Very, very smooth on skates, right? But with dot skates, like I said, if you press down a little more, you're going to feel each logo just kind of pushing up against the surface because the surface fabric is very, very thin on this guy. I think if they used just a little more of a thicker kind of surface fabric, it would be a better mouse pad. But this is also one of my favorite kind of bases. The base is nice and hard. It doesn't move on your skin, or not in the skin, it doesn't move on the desk. And it's very, very unique in the mouse pad scene. It's like it's a hard cloth pad, basically. One thing I don't like is the stitching, right? If you're an arm tracker and you're moving vertically, you do feel the hardness in the stitching on your arm. It isn't the greatest feeling, but if you want to try something that's a little more unique, this is another cheaper option in the scene. I'm not entirely sure how expensive it is. I think it's around $35, but go ahead and try it out for yourself. If you do have it, comment in the comments below if you do feel the same with dot skates, because I am curious on that part as well. The speed on this pad is more of a balanced feel. Like I said, it wasn't the most consistent feeling pad because I think just the thinness of this fabric doesn't allow it to be as consistent as it could be, as I just move my entire screen, right? But I feel like the last pad, the Owepowe pad, for those who like more speed, is a better option for you because it is ever so slightly more consistent. So, FreeFall Haus Pad. FreeFall, thank you for sending this out for review. And next up, we are going to talk about the Pulsar Paraglide. The Pulsar Paraglide was also another mouse pad that was sent out for review. I had a bunch of these that I've been kind of slacking on, so we're going through them all right now. This guy is a balanced option, right? It's slightly slower than the FreeFall pad, right? But in my opinion, it's ever so slightly more consistent. There is less tug on the bottom of my skates versus the FreeFall. It is a very firm pad. It's almost as hard as the FreeFall base, right? But there's just like that very, very, very hint of give, but it's really closer to a mid artisan than there is soft, right? So if you have dot skates, one, you don't feel a logo because there's no logos on the bottom of the base itself, but your dot skates do not sink in at all. Full form skates, right? The full form on the X2 Mini ES are nice and smooth. The dot skates give you a little hint of a feedback, right? This pad itself, it's like a carpety, fuzzy, smooth on your skin, and it doesn't feel bad. It's not super abrasive, so that's a plus. And you don't feel the edges, the stitch edges if you're vertical tracking like you did on the FreeFall. So overall, I mean, the color itself isn't as vibrant as you see on camera. It is a slightly washed out orange in person, but it's not bad. But there is also another pattern I'm about to talk about that is very close to it that I found to be ever so slightly more open and just a hair more consistent, which I would recommend as well on top of the Paraglide. The Paraglide comes in at around $25, especially on Amazon. It's $24.95 right now. So if you want to pick it up, you want something that's cheap, that's also a damn good balanced pad, go for it, pick it up. The base itself is a kind of a standard base, but I do find it to be a better base than an Owepowe pad because it gives the pad itself a more consistent feel. But the pad we're going to talk about now is the Blitz Blue Hard. This guy I picked up from Lethal when they had the sale. This guy was like $30-something. And this one has around the same kind of hardness to it. I don't know why my Razor camera makes everything look just... This thing just makes everything look so washed out when you change pads. This guy is a lot more vibrant in person, right? It doesn't look washed out at all. It's a nice blue color. If you like blue mouse pads like I do, this would be a better color option, a more kind of vibrant looking pad itself than the Pulsar. But on the skates are ever so slightly smoother. On the skin, it almost has the same texture, but it's not as fuzzy as the Paraglide. It's more of a smoother kind of feel. Speed wise, again, it's a balanced with a little hint of speed versus the Paraglide where it's just more of a balanced feel. But it feels more consistent. It feels more open through dot skates, through full form skates. Like it's a damn good pad. If you haven't used a whale pad, like I highly recommend you do because his pads have been the cloth pads itself and even the glazed glass have been my favorite kind of pads to use in the scene because of their premium kind of quality, the premium feel, the performance on them. They just outshine almost, and I mean, in my opinion, every company that I have gotten a mouse pad from. So if you want a smooth feel on the skates, the smooth feel on the skin, if you want a more firm style base and kind of a more premium base, right? This thing doesn't move at all. Go ahead and try the Blitz Blue and Hard. In my opinion, it's one of the better Blitzes out there. He has the soft, different colors. Even some of the colors will give you a different speed for what he was. He showcased that a while back. But yeah, you got a lot of different options. So far, we looked at the Owepowe pad, which is more of a Raiden Speedish kind of clone. Isn't the same quality feel that you'll get from an Artisan or from the Infinity Mice. We showed you the FreeFall Haus Pad. That is, in my opinion, something that could have been better if they just kind of used a different kind of fabric or a thicker fabric for the top surface. I showed you the Paraglide, which is a good budget option for $25. The Blitz Blue, which is a similar kind of pad, just a more premium style of a Paraglide, but a better feeling on the skin and skates. Next up, we are going to talk about a glass pad. This guy is the Tenta X Cataclysm. Now, I did pick this up from Lethal. This was not sent out for review. This is a more controlled option glass pad, right? Now with this, it isn't skin sticking resistant, right? I would recommend a sleeve. If you haven't gotten yourself a sleeve, I highly recommend the Midori B4M. This is their bamboo mixed with a few other kind of materials, but this is probably one of my favorite kind of full arm sleeve itself because one, it's not super tight around the bicep. This is their large, and it kind of expands the longer you use it. So it's a very damn good, high quality, super nice feeling arm sleeve that is comfortable, it's breathable. It just feels very, very, very premium, and you get two in the box. But so this pad itself is not kind of resistant to sticky, so use that sleeve. On skates, this is a slower kind of option, but it isn't as slow as the Sonar that I reviewed a while back. And you can get a good speed difference if you use just different kind of skates, right? The Obsidian Airs are nice and open under pressure with like a heavy handed. You do get a more down to earth kind of feel. You feel a little more connected to the mouse pad, get a little more control out of it. If you use a heavier skate or heavier mouse, especially with the full form skates, you do get that more control if you are heavy handed, especially with micro adjustments. And if you're using kind of like a fingertip, smaller mouse, right? It's still a good option because it isn't as controlled as one, in my opinion, their charts showed. Because right here, this little movement on their fingertip grip is nice and open. There is no tug or anything like that here, unless I push a little more and I start changing directions a little more kind of abrupt. But all in all, this is a damn good glass pad. If you want a more control oriented glass pad, I would say it's more in the balanced kind of option, depending on the skates you use. But the visuals itself on the pad are phenomenal. I do like the deep dark blacks with the purple and the blue in the eyes. It looks damn good in person. Looks very good under a camera. But the Cataclysm is a nice thinner option. Now the edges aren't extremely curved, right? But there's no kind of issue there. You don't really feel any sharp edges on your skin itself. The pad itself doesn't move, which is very, very good. And the pad didn't show up warped like a few other glass pads that I've gotten in the past. So you got a nice, good speed, nice, good, balanced kind of option glass pad that will lean more controlled based on one, the weight of your mouse and the skates that you use. You could get a little faster option of skates to open up the mouse pad a little more. You got a good graphic on the mouse pad that definitely pops with your setup. If you use like a black or white setup, this guy will go perfectly well with it. It was only $79 on Lethal, which is a good price for a glass pad, where some glass pads have been popping out around $160, $140, $120. I mean, for $79, this is a good pickup. I'd give it a shot if you like glass, if you want something a little control. Bada bing, bada boom. Cataclysm, great job, Tenta X, on this guy. And I'm looking forward to kind of what other speed options possibly of glass in the future. Now, the last pad that we're going to talk about is a steel pad. This guy is one of the heaviest mouse pads I have ever used. Let me just see if I can get it off my desk. Oh my gosh. This is a 15-pound 500 by 500 steel pad. This is from Two Dudes Gaming, right? And yes, it is steel, but it's like 1.5 millimeters thick. You can choose different backings on it. For example, hang on, let me turn this over without breaking anything. I chose their spray-on silicone. And yes, this is very, very heavy. And it's the Ryse. The Ryse is their balanced speed steel pad. And honestly, it gives you that speed. It's very, very weird to feel something like this, because this is so, like, this is so open for a balance pad, but this is like the truest balanced speed that you would find in, like, in my opinion, anything you'll see on the market currently. It's steel, it's hard, it is not stick resistant, so if you don't have a sleeve, I suggest you swapping to a faster sense and wrist aiming, or picking up a sleeve to use one of these pads. This pad is about $125, made in the US, and they do it in-house. There is no factory, right? But the speed itself is very, very unique because it is balanced. This is a damn good hard pad. Yeah, there is no crazy kind of designs. You do have like the imperfections on it because of the steel and how they kind of coat, and not like they don't really, it's not like a coating, but how they buffer the surface down into the kind of speed that they desire. It's a very, very unique experience, and I highly suggest like everybody to give this thing a shot. They are a smaller company, and I did pick this up myself. But if you want something balanced, I mean, the Risen is that. It's the balanced mouse pad to pick up. Even though it is 15 pounds, right? It's still a good option for you. So today we looked at, well, before we go into the end, I do want to point out something with this pad. I do think it might eat through your skates a little harsher than glass itself. I've had the Jade Airs fresh out of the packaging, and they kind of felt at the end of the day they were decently slower versus when I first put them on. But for the experience you get with this pad, it's very, very unique, and I highly recommend it to everyone because there's no like weird tug. It's nice and open, right? Even with pressure, you get a still more controlled experience. But with full form skates, these aren't the greatest. I would still use dot skates with this pad as well. But now where I was getting to is we saw a bunch of different pads today. We saw a hard cloth pad. We saw a nice balanced option, the Paraglide paired with the Blitz Blue Hard, right? Two damn good balanced cloth pads. We saw a really good control glass pad, a nice balanced, unique steel mouse pad that you don't see. Like, this guy is also very smooth on your skin, but use a sleeve, like I said. We saw a nice budget rating clone. We saw, what else did we see? Yeah, and that's basically all we saw. We saw a few different mouse pads. If you guys liked what you saw, I'm gonna timeline. I'm gonna put each like a. I'm gonna highlight each pad with its own time, so you can click through, and if you want to look at a certain pad, you can go from there. But next up, we're gonna be streaming here in a few minutes with the Pulsar X2 Mini ES Tournament Edition. So, love you guys. Rise up. God bless. And we'll see you for the next review.